Hello, fellow trainers, and welcome back to the channel for another visit to the Halzari region. The Halzari region, for those who may be visiting for the first time and just randomly clicked on a video, happy to have you here. The Halzari region is my custom Fakemon region, as people like to call it or refer to it, or I just like to say it's Pokemon region. The Halzari region is heavily based on the United States. However, I do keep a lot of traditional elements from Pokemon, such as a regional bird line. So the last visit to Halzari, you guys met my regional bird and its evolution. So on the left is Elefinchi, and it evolves into Galfinch, and then finally Finch Volt. So quite a unique take on a regional bird line, in my opinion, so to speak. Electric typing is pretty cool to have right off the bat from a regional bird. However, as always, I teased you with something last time, and I teased you with this image and asked you, who's that Pokemon? But as you can see on the teaser, you're about to meet this Pokemon, and we're going to be visiting what I like to refer to in my own notes as the Fighting Forest of Halzari. As I'm developing the map, I have a lot of working titles just kind of written on my map to make sure everything's organized in my head. And today we're going to be going into the work in progress title of the Fighting Forest to meet this Pokemon right here, and its name is a Cornier. A Cornier is a grass and fighting type, and this little guy is very, very near and dear to my heart, which I'll explain as we go into its Pokedex entry. A Cornier is the Acorn Dreamer Pokemon. It's a grass and fighting type, and it's number 76 in the Halzari Pokedex. This Pokemon spends its days daydreaming of adventure. It aspires to be a hero. Groups of Acornier can be seen playing together throughout the woods of Halzari. And now, Acornier is a very, very special Pokemon to me. One thing I highly recommend anyone does, and this isn't like it's just a me thing. Great artists across the world do this as you should. You have to find a connective tissue to be able to create your story, create your piece of art. Find something that you connect with, and I think that speaks through your artwork. A Cornier is an incredibly important Pokemon to me because it's just me. I've stated in other videos before, I grew up in the great state of Wisconsin. Greatest state in the union in my mind. But I spent a lot of my time as a child running through the woods, picking up a stick, and pretending that I was a hero. Wow, I'm getting even a little emotional talking about it right now. I spent a lot of time daydreaming and pretending that I was just a hero of some kind. And that stick that I picked up was my sword. A good friend of mine, one of my best friends growing up in childhood, moved away. And when he moved away, he actually got, his family bought a home with an acre of land behind it. And we were huge Lord of the Rings and fantasy fans at the time, specifically, but as we still are today. And I cannot tell you how many hours were spent running into the woods, picking up a stick, and pretending we were one of Tolkien's characters. Or just pretending that we were heroes and pretending to have sword fights with sticks and all that jazz. Acornier is very personal because it's just me. And it's just like a lot of boys, but not just boys, kids in general, running out and playing and pretending that they're what they want to be in life, which is so pure and so cool. And I wanted it to have a fighting type simply because it's that fighting spirit that every kid has when they're a dreamer. They want to fight for their dreams. And that's why Acornier is a grass and fighting type. It's a little seedling. It's a little acorn that's going to grow into something special. And it evolves and grows into this Pokemon right here, Woo Ranger. Now, Woo Ranger is still a grass and fighting type, but it's got that double stick vibe. I like to think of Woo Ranger as a kid around like 12, 13 who's starting to get a little bit of edge to them, thinks they're going somewhere, but they still have that childlike wonder, even if they want to pretend that they don't. But I look at those teen years as inspiration as I go towards this Pokedex entry. Woo Ranger is the Ranger Pokemon. It's grass and fighting type, and it's number 77 in the Halzari Pokedex. Roaming throughout Halzari's wilds, Woo Ranger searches for its purpose. Along its journey, it aids any in need, looking for its future home to protect. So like I said, I base this off of that teen in that awkward phase of trying to pretend it's a little bit cooler than it is, while also still having that childlike wonder and awe to them, even if they're trying to, push that aside a little bit and say that they're a little bit more grown up. And I think that is reflected throughout the design. It's not as Peter Pan-ish, it's not as small kiddish, but it does still have those elements of fantasy fun that a little kid would have. Even the little braid on the top that's a little tree, I thought would be a fun little nod. But the namesake is one that is super personal for me. As I stated with Acornier, my friend and I were, and I am to this day, I don't know if I can necessarily speak for him, but I can't assume anything otherwise. We were huge Tolkien fans, huge Lord of the Rings fans. And also, growing up, we were huge Power Ranger fans. So this was the perfect element. A ranger in myth, a ranger in fantasy is one that roams around, but always has a purpose to it. It's almost always fighting the good fight and is looking for a purpose to help. And I thought that'd be perfect to encapsulate everything I was kind of taking and give the namesake Woo Ranger to this Pokemon. It's looking for its purpose, much like a teen would, but it's looking for its purpose like a ranger would, but it's still willing to help. And very much look at high fantasy elements of Lord of the Rings, of the Elder Scrolls, a lot of other elements of fantasy that I love are poured into this Pokemon and this character, as I like to say. And it's a very personal one for me, but it's always looking for its future home to protect. And think about that as we go forward. And if you watch the personal introduction, this one should look a little familiar, but Woo Ranger evolves finally into Fortree Knight. Fortree Knight is still grass and fighting type, but it has a little bit more sophistication. It's a little bit more grown up. Now, as we go to its Pokedex entry, Fortree Knight is the Acorn Knight Pokemon. It's grass and fighting type, and it's number 78 in the Halzari Pokedex. One of Halzari's fabled heroes, Fortree Knight is amongst the most loyal of Pokemon. After finding its protective purpose, it will remain there until its last leaves fall. So I'm pretty sure if you saw me in the intro or any one of my content, you might say, hey, that looks familiar. It should. I definitely kind of stole my own face for Fortree Knight's design. But because this Pokemon is so personal to me, I thought it was pretty fitting to have a design that kind of echoed some things that I like and some things that I am. And it goes back to the idea of telling a story through character design. The Pokemon goes from just a little kid picking up a stick pretending to be your hero to it's finally a hero and it's realizing what it is. And it's etched out of wood. It is etched its own, it's carved its own sword. And it's going to defend its home and it's defend its purpose until its last leaves fall, as I'd like to say a little bit more poetically. Which is why I gave it a little bit more of that orange, bright tinge on the leaves to show the growth and maturity, much like a tree does it right before the fall, as the fall's happening, right before all the leaves fall. The leaves turn color. So that's why the cape, which is very Captain Marvel, Shazam-esque, is a little bit of a different color. But yet, it still looks youthful and vibrant, much like the fire inside of a person, much like the fire inside of me to create, to be something special in what you are. And protect the purpose you found. And in doing this project, I found a lot of purpose in life, which is why Fortree Knight looks the way it does and is so personal to me. We're moving forward with its full evolutionary line. A Cornier can be caught in the Fighting Forest, and it evolves into Woo Ranger at level 24. And then finally, at level 40, it evolves into Fortree Knight. So it's quite a bit of a gap in growth. You know, I look at it, if you're entering the Fighting Forest, you're probably going to find a Cornier around the level 12 to as max 18 level. So you can find a little bit of quick growth, but to Woo Ranger. But once you're in Woo Ranger, you really got to develop and find your purpose with that Pokemon. And that's why level 40 I thought stuck out pretty well for Fortree Knight. But I like all of my Pokemon, like all of my character work and all of my story work, I want there to be true development and growth. And I'm constantly forcing myself to look at that. Not only here, but in my personal life as well. I want that to be true. Which is why even something as simple as what level does it evolve at matters to me. Why I pay attention to that. But, you know, a Cornier and its evolutionary line through Fortree Knight is a very personal one, and one that's a mainstay in the work in progress title of the Fighting Forest of Halzari. You know, Halzari's got a lot of forests, so I had to give it a little bit of different vibes and nature to it. But that is the evolutionary line that you came to see. However, you know by now, if you're watching these videos on the reg, I'm always going to leave you with this, Steve. So I'm going to ask you, who's that Pokemon? So if you were here a couple weeks ago seeing the water starter line, similar teas, we're going to the grass starter line. So as you can see, our grass starter Turfalo is ready to go, and it wants to show you what it evolves into. So I'm going to show you the full grass starter line next time on our visit to Halzari. But before you go and before we get to that, as always, I have to say thank you for watching the video. I appreciate it so much. I'm appreciating the community that's being built here. So I got a few things for you. If you're liking this content, please like it. Comment as much as you possibly can. It helps with everything, including my own editing process of what you guys like and what you don't like. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so far. You can follow me across social media, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I'm there. Find me. And finally, I've started my own Discord server. It is a long, arduous process. I don't really get Discord that much. I'm someone who's still very much getting used to the online world. I didn't really exist there much prior to introducing Halzari and doing all my Pokemon card openings and things of that nature on the channel. However, I'm learning, I'm growing, so I hope you guys will follow me and join the Discord group. It'll be a really big boon to me and would make it so much easier for me to connect with you guys, which I love doing. And it means a great deal to connect with you guys. But beyond that, please, as always, just remember, I'm very thankful for you guys watching this video, and I hope you come back next week. And every single day, I've got something on YouTube for you and something across social media for you. So come on, I always have content for you. So I want to see you. And I'll catch you next time as we visit Halzari and the rest of the content I have for you. But in the meantime and in between time, peace, love, and hugs. Bye-bye.